Hello, welcome to Know the Faith, Defend the Faith. My name is William Hemsworth. It's great to be with you all this week. My guest at this time, he's an author, a writer, Matthew Chicoine. He writes for Epic Pew, Catholic Exchange, and Voyage Comics. Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, William. Thank you for having me. I know I've been dodging you for a couple times, so
Oh,
thank
not dodging. Life happens, man. That's all it is. Life happens. So, how are things in your neck of the woods?
good. We just purchased a home and sold a home past week, and then kids started school. Um, and hopefully they don't interrupt this. This is my first official Zoom. My wife has had a lot of Zoom calls in the spring. She teaches, so they're still in school this school year. But yeah, I felt like a goaltender when I was home and she had Zoom calls keeping the kids out. But things are going well.
All right, good. Yeah, every now and then those Zoom bombs happen. It's all good. No worries.
Yep, yep.
But I'm glad to have you on today. I know we've been on a couple times before in the early days of the show. We've been over a year at this point, praise God. But today I want to talk to you about online evangelism. I think that's important in the climate that we're in, especially with the election coming up. And so I wonder if you can give us a definition of what evangelism is, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So for me, evangelism is spreading the good news of the gospel that Jesus became man and died for our salvation, and that's it in a nutshell. Um, what I've been seeing in terms of like online on Facebook mostly, but in other places too, there are there's a tendency to for certain factions in Christianity and Catholicism more specifically, but to have a kind of it doesn't seem to be, the dialogue doesn't seem to be related to evangelism. It's more of pushing a certain political agenda, which, I think in the intention they have is good, but the means that they're going about it is not necessarily, you know, it doesn't draw people to Christ. It kind of entrenches people in their own thoughts and beliefs already. So
Now, in your various avenues online, because I know you're big on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn. Have you had anyone contact you saying like what effect that this has had, maybe on them personally, on how they view the church or anything like that?
well, like on LinkedIn, I've had a lot of people when I um, share my experience about the faith and like my own personal suffering, um, being a father who's went through miscarriage, like when my wife miscarried, a couple of our children several years ago, and all of that depression, anxiety, worry, um, periods of doubt and difficulty that's impacted them. So when I started my uh, blog, The Simple Catholic, and really started to write from a point of view of like my perspective of the faith and how God's work in my life has shaped my understanding of the gospel. It resonates with a lot of people. I rarely write posts about politics. I really try to stay away from it. My original name for my blog was prayer, recreation, and organization, and I wanted to. My original vision was to talk about how the pro-life or being pro-life is really about living a holy life. It's not meant to be politicized, in my opinion. Um, and from that approach, you can draw a lot of people that may not necessarily be in the place that you want them to be in their faith, but I find that when you share your personal story and come at it from just sharing what you know about the faith, or just even giving information posts without having a real strong opinion on either side, except that whatever, just say that this is what the church teaches, I believe what the church teaches, and not really condemning someone. It invites someone up to learning more about the faith, or deepening their own prayer life, or opening up a conversation with you through instant message or email. So, yeah.
Okay, so we have this welcoming approach, and I'm with you on Facebook and Twitter. LinkedIn is a lot more civil,
Yeah, definitely.
by far, but definitely Twitter and Facebook. Like you said, you have these factions where you have to believe exactly as I do, or there's something wrong with you. There's no middle ground. I don't know. That turns me off, even though I know that the faith of these brothers and sisters are really strong. I can't imagine what it's doing to someone who maybe is searching for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do as Catholics, because all of us are online, even if we don't want to be, it's just the way it is nowadays. What can we do as individual Catholics? I know you touched on it already, to foster that curiosity, that growth, to try to get people back in if they've left, or in if they never were.
Yeah, so for a few things that I've done is I've removed any political label from myself. I'm not conservative, I'm not liberal, I'm not moderate, I'm just a Catholic who believes in the fullness of faith. Um, there are parts of me that are a little bit more conservative in certain beliefs, and some a little bit more liberal, but I find that when you attach a label to something, at least in terms of politics, it limits your Catholicity. And Catholic means universal.
Right.
So we're not trying to appeal to, or Christ didn't intend for us to appeal to one side of the political spectrum or the other. It's to everyone. So that'd be the first thing. The second is just to be kind. I had a friend who has a good rule of thumb, and this is something I really need to work on myself, is he will type something out and then delete it, so then he doesn't send it. So like if he has a thought about something, he'll write it out and just, never actually end up sending it, but he gets it out of his system, or his, kind of gets it out on paper or on a screen. And there's been times where if I've said something in a comment and I realize, okay, this is not appropriate, so I delete it. I try to delete it right away. So that'd be a good step to go. And even further, the more you practice self-restraint and discernment and prudence, you would get to the point where you don't even have to delete a comment. You never have a comment to begin with. And then a third point would be ask questions more. So instead of making an assumption and saying, like, you believe this, so you must be this type of Catholic, good or bad, or legitimate or illegitimate, maybe phrase it in questions like, what caused you to think this way? Or is there evidence for this claim? Or could you provide the link to this because I'd like to share this information? Because, for example, someone posted something related to child trafficking and with the mask issue, and that it's the covering up of children's faces can lead to online predators seeing that, and then people that are pedophiles that are searching for children. It makes it easier for them, but they made the claim that it's already proven, and I just said, well, I mean, this is concerning. Could you share the link so then there's some evidence for this? But they never responded. I'm not sure exactly why, but I think that having the evidence instead of just having those memes, because I mean, memes are great, but they aren't always great evidence.
Right.
So, yeah, those
Memes.
are the three things I would, good basis.
Okay. Yeah, I love memes. Memes are great for comedy relief. That's why I post them so often. But that's not scientific evidence. It's not apologetics or anything else. You can start a conversation with them, but you can't just leave it with that.
Exactly.
So what, and you've been doing a good job with this, with not only with your post, but with your blog, the Simple Catholic. When did the Simple Catholic start?
So in terms of when my blog started, was 2015. At that point, for the first year and a half, it was uh, the pro-life aspect, but it was like prayer, recreation, and
Mm-hmm.
organization. Three pillars in my life um, that I just really live by. I'm a real big neat freak, so organization was already important. I like board games and lawn games and having fun, so that was an important part. And then prayer is an important part of my life. But then at some point, I made the change to the Simple Catholic because I wanted to present the faith in a more simplified manner that's easier to understand. And that was for a few reasons. First of all, I struggled, um, having a master's degree in theology and someone who is naturally long-winded. So hopefully I don't come across too much in this, but and I'm still working on it. But um, I wanted to shift from more academic writing to a type of writing that can appeal to a wider um, base, a wider audience of Catholics. So that forced me to kind of shift how I taught, and um, that was also some more context from that. Is I taught for a year, high school, Old and New Testament. So that kind of forced me to really simplify my approach to passing on the faith. So, and then from there, it's just kind of been, I've been really trying to be more consistent in the last 2 or 3 years with it. So, um, and right now I think I'm, hitting more of my consistent groove, just kind of focusing on, aspects of unity is a huge theme in mine. And then Mary, I have a lot of posts on Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa of Avila and Catherine of Siena are huge saints in my life. And Catherine of Siena, I found just reading a lot of her works, she's found a balance of charity, but also truth. So that's kind of the tone I like to come across. Be charitable, but be truthful.
And it definitely does come across that way. I can't respond as often as I would like because of how my schedule's been, but
No, that's okay.
but you do that. And when you talk about unity in regard to evangelism, how important is unity?
I mean, it's essential. It's so there's 4 marks of the church, and you know this. You had a great article um, a while back on the 4 marks of the church. But the first one is oneness, and I mean, it's put in the creed for a reason. It's the most important part. Without that unity, you can't have anything else. Sorry, I have to get some Gatorade.
Oh, it's all right. It's summer. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, thanks. And Christ prayed that his church may be one, and we're all on the same team. So and that's what's kind of have saddened me and disappointed me over the past year. Really, especially the last 6 months since this pandemic has magnified all of the problems already existing in the church. There's Catholics that have basically made a lot of presumptions about how other people are thinking. They assume that they're living in fear. They assume that they're not faithful Catholics because they take certain precautionary measures regarding the pandemic. They assume that they're afraid of death. There's assumptions that if you don't worship a certain way or pray a certain amount of prayers, and that's dangerous. So unity, the first part of, unity is, let's not make assumptions. I mean, everyone has their own journey. We're all on the same team. I mean, I think everyone can agree that we want to go to heaven is the first goal.
Right.
And we want to defend ourselves against Satan. That's a secondary effect of wanting to go to heaven. So this infighting, something that saddened me, not even really angered me. I just don't have the energy to be angered. But it just saddens me that all our brothers and sisters are fighting when the
world needs hope.
Yeah, we need hope. I mean, and I believe the church in all of the moral teachings, against abortion, I don't believe there's an instance where there's any good in it. It's always evil objectively. But it's not conducive to the pro-life movement when someone from the pandemic is personally suffering and then someone interjects, but this many abortions occur. We all agree upon that. I don't think any good Catholic, I don't want to say good, any Catholic that's faithful doesn't disagree with that.
Right.
But I think if we're unified, then I think our prayers can be unified too, which will have a lot of an effect, because my experience being sick the past year, my experience with all of my suffering, dealing with the aftermath of an unborn child, dying with miscarriage, I've been sustained by prayer. So, and I think, we're kind of in a period where there's going to be a turning point in the church. I think we're going to be suffering a lot more, which comfortable Christianity will be gone.
Agreed.
It never should have been there in the first place. I've never believed that Catholicism should have ever been comfortable. I never thought that way. It should bring us joy and unity, but not comfort. So yeah.
Yeah. So evangelism going forward is going to be a lot more important, especially with everything going on, because there's still a lot of places in the country and the world even where mass is still suspended, and people need hope. They need Jesus. They need the sacraments, and them seeing and more people are spending time on social media and they're seeing the infighting, and they're like, why? Like, this is what I'm trying to find something to grasp onto, and the people I'm looking up to are telling me not to do this, not to do that. One side saying not to do this. I'm sorry, I'm ranting here.
No, that's okay.
But so what can we do as individuals to point people to the church, the sacraments, in light of everything that's happening right now?
One thing that's helped me in terms of being charitable, and I've got a lot of good reception from whenever I post about this, is we can get more unified as a church when we offer this current suffering of this year and moving on to the next year as a means to help free the souls in purgatory.
Great. Okay.
Because there's three churches, or not three churches, but three aspects of the church. We are the church militant, living on earth right now. There's the church suffering in purgatory, and the church triumphant, the saints in heaven. we ask the saints for help a lot of times, but I think the church suffering gets overlooked of the three. So I've always come back, instead of like saying, hey, you're wrong to say this approach to pandemic is not right, or this is the right way. I just ask, what if we offered our sufferings, whether it be intense sufferings or minor inconveniences or in between? What if we offered that up as a means to not only grow in holiness for ourselves, but to take on the suffering to free the souls in purgatory, or even one soul in purgatory? And that's transformed my mindset too. And then also listing things that you're grateful for has helped kind of shifted my mindset, away from the temptation, like, hey, I want to address someone this way. That may not be appropriate. It's not respectful, line. So if you come at it with a grateful mindset, then that helps.
Great. I think it's important what you said. Offer the suffering for the souls in purgatory. Lord knows they're suffering more than we are, so we can definitely help them with our prayers. I think that's something great we can take away. And personally, I never thought of that, even though definitely should have. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Matthew, going forward, what are your plans for your writing and your work? What do you have going on?
Well, I'm wanting to reach out to Pathos, that website. I know you've been writing for them for several months. I was in the process of joining that site to become a regular contributor in the Catholic column, but then the pandemic hit. I had a transition at work. My wife and kids had distance learning, and then summer hit, and then we started moving. A lot of house projects fixing up, and still kind of finishing that up. But now it's kind of, things have tailed off, so I'm at a point where I can do that. And then I'm going to still work with blogging for Voyage Comics. I find that the superhero genre in comic books is a great tool to connect people that you wouldn't necessarily connect with. It's a great launching pad to the faith. Fiction in general really is. But, I mean, superheroes is something that interests me, and it provides me a way to kind of share my faith, but without being too preachy about it. And then I've been really contemplating starting the work towards writing a book. I just have to figure out which direction I want to go with it. So I have a few different angles I want to go. I'm not sure which way. I don't know if I'm just going to throw a dart at a board and just say, I'm going to go with this one, just to at least start. And then there's another website that I'm working kind of as a trial basis for, hopefully to get to be a longer term contributor, is All Pro Dad. So it's a Christian-based website and it's specifically geared towards dads, but of all kind of walks of faith, specifically Christian. But that's something I've been looking at the past year, and so there's been movement on that end. So those are just a few of the projects I have. But a lot of it kind of depends upon my kids definitely keep me on my toes. So I have 4 of them, and they're we started speech therapy with my daughter and yesterday. So
okay,
that'll kind of might influence my writing too. I'll probably have a lot more funny posts related to her and her shenanigans, but yeah, that's kind of stuff I have on the docket.
All right, good deal. And your website is thesimplecatholic.blog.
Correct. Yep.
Everyone can check it out. So any parting words on evangelism that you want to share with us, Matthew?
I would just again reiterate: focus on unity and be kind with how you approach commenting. So type out a comment. If you need to get your thoughts out, or just write on a piece of paper would be safer. And then crumple up the piece of paper or delete the text or the email or the DM. That way you get your thoughts out, but you don't say it. And if you do say it or type it out and regret it, and you come to find out it's not appropriate, delete it or apologize, because that helps smooth things over. And then pray. Offer your suffering, however, and don't discount your suffering, however major or minor it is, because your journey is unique to yourself. And no one can tell you that your suffering is not important or it's not tough, because everyone has their own trial. And what's tough for one person may or may not be the same for someone else. But you shouldn't compare yourself in your journey to others. So yeah, those would be my last tips on that.
Right, great. And before we went on air, you said you had a poem you wanted to read as well?
Let me see. No, there was a post that I wrote if you wanted to check it out.
Okay.
I was just getting the title of it in. This is on my website. It's called, the article is A Catholic Guide to Unity During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Okay. Now, even post-pandemic era, I think this article would fit, but this is just specific. This was my thoughts and things that have helped me be a kinder and more Christian person during all of the confusion and chaos of this year. So
great. And I'll link it in the notes.
Sure. Yeah.
So people can check it out, and definitely check out the blog. His blog is amazing. You will learn a ton from it. Fantastic blog. One of the top Catholic blogs out there on FeedSpot. So check it out.
Thank you.
Matthew, thank you for taking some time today to come on the program and give us some great tips, because I think we really do need it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, William, for all your work too. And congratulations, this is your first day.
Yes, it is my first day of doing this full time. Quit my job yesterday, and my wife said I had some anxiety this morning because I woke up like at 11:50, 2:50, thinking I was late for work.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was great talking with you, and God bless you and your work and your family in the move.
Yep, thank you, William.
All right, take care.